In this video, we're going to talk about the daily and weekly price action for CleanSpark and Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about when I'm adding, when I'm trimming. We talk about the short and long dated open options interest as well. That's going to be important. We like to see what the big boys are thinking on this one. We'll go through any CleanSpark news. We've just had earnings, so there's a little bit to touch on there. Very exciting. I don't want to hold you hostage, so I'm just going to come out and say I'm still super bullish on CleanSpark. I know price is really suppressed. The short interest is super high still, but we'll talk more about the plan with that as well. Other than that, my live portfolio on eToro is in the description down below. I'm currently at 165% in 2 years. Now that's fallen down from 200%, not because I've had a massive pullback, but because the way the calculation works. So I think I'm only down about 10%, but I'll check that because I'm not sure. Hopping straight into the CleanSpark chart, we can see we've got support at 687 and 596. Now I'm shocked prices got this low. A breakdown here wasn't ideal, but the arbitrage play in kind of the proxy area is really doing some damage. The short interest is crazy high. That's not going to change, I don't think, until we see some extreme popping. The bond market really is just hedging its bets on this one for the time being. It was too good of an opportunity for them not to do so. Now, a lot of people have been talking about a potential short squeeze happening, especially with Bitcoin making such a large move over the weekend. Now, I don't think the move's been big enough. We've given back a lot of that gain. So unless we see another surge up, the short squeeze is not on the table, I don't think. Miners are up about 10% pre-market. That's not going to be enough to scare off the shorts, and they're not going to switch to net long unless they see the macro news as the driving for that and close it out, but unlikely until we see some confirmation. Sorry, my dogs are barking. Annoying. So resistance to the upside is going to be this black line here, about $10. I think that's going to hit. That does kind of converge with the volume shelf there as well. Might have to tell my dogs off in a second. Other than that, though, above that, the bull market support band, resistance band, I guess we could call it today. It is bearish. We've got the red on top. It's pretty thin. Hopefully by the time we start moving towards that, it thins out again, so we can break through quite easy and get back over that and confirm the spacing pattern again. Take profits. Dogs coming in the room now. So I've marked them now on my chart, kind of $19.92, $20. I'll be taking a big chunk off, and then again at kind of $28 at the Fibonacci level there, and then again at kind of this 32. Probably be trimming at this Fibonacci level at 35 as well. So again, I'm going to be selling out a bit more earlier than I would have planned, but that's because I'm going to be scaling in at a much bigger size than I previously had for a much lower price. So there's no point in me holding it into super high risky areas. That's just logical. I will make the same amount of money either way. What else did I want to talk about? So RSI is a little bit overcooked. We like that. The MACD Plus doesn't look great though. Not ideal at all with it diverging like that in a kind of bearish way. We want to see them converge to get the golden cross again and flows kind of neutral. Yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say. Let's take a quick look at the weekly. So weekly, I mean, we did have this beautiful looking cup and handle. We've kind of invalidated that. I guess technically a lot of traders will still see this as the handle for the cup and handle, but it's not perfect, especially if we break lower. But the measured move is pretty generous on that one. I do expect some super volatile action on this one still. RSI kind of neutral. Death cross has come into play on the MACD Plus, which is not great, but again, as you can see previously, it does flip-flop quite quickly, which is nice, and flows kind of negative. So the charts don't look great, but the main thing here is the fundamentals for both Bitcoin and CleanSpark are phenomenal. Towards the end of the cycle, I'd probably sell out most of my position. I don't think the money market is quite developed enough for them to make a good enough yield on their Bitcoin stack to justify holding through crypto winter. I think by the time crypto winter's done, around about a year after the cycle top, that's going to be when to start scaling back into CleanSpark, and hopefully money markets will be mature enough where we can see that cash generated from the yield really go to the bottom line, which would be super bullish. Obviously, I think companies like Mara will also do the same thing. So it's going to be exciting, but I don't think it's quite there yet. This is just a kind of trade for this cycle. Moving on to the options market for CleanSpark, just taking a look with Riot support, market makers are gonna want to keep it above that for max pain for, everyone. But then kind of $15 is kind of resistance. Now that's not going to happen in a week, I don't think, unless we get a squeeze, in which case, strong odds. But currently with Bitcoin having a pullback and everything, a squeeze is not looking likely. Let's push it out a week though, see what the market's thinking. $13. Just a lot of interest at that price. Now, again, I don't think we're going to get there unless we get a squeeze. That's quite a substantial move. Let's push it out to this stupid alert. Why does it keep coming back? I don't want to be reminded every day. No, I can't get rid of it. January 2026. Now the app's gone funny. Okay, let's see what the market's thinking. Again, we can see the interest for the higher strikes up to $37 is pretty beefy. $20, where bulk of mine's going to be taken off, is looking very good. So the general consensus with the big boys is that up is happening. It's just a matter of time, and they're giving themselves some runway. We'll probably see the same there. My worry here is that the expiration on these ones is so far past where I would put the end of the cycle that I would expect price to pull down. But again, you don't have to hold to expiration. It's just maybe the people there have given themselves too much runway. My current expectation would be kind of June, July, August to see the top. Let's have a look at July 2025. We can see a lot more people picking that as kind of where things will roll over and what CleanSpark's going to be in that area. So that's something to bear in mind. If you're going to be in options on this one, the time frame is going to be really, really critical on this. I would probably advise not to do options. Okay, so here in the videos where I normally talk about CleanSpark news, all that exciting stuff, but there wasn't too much really other than their Bitcoin production daily being pretty decent that I really wanted to talk about. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about Mara, one of my smaller positions. I think it's the only other miner I have, actually. Yeah, I got rid of Iron because the HPC stuff was taking the mick now. Really, it's a bit too hyped. Not really relevant. It's not profitable for the business yet, so I wasn't really interested in that. It was a bit of a money pit, and it's only sentiment driving it. It's not really what I'm looking for. So Mara was one I wasn't super bullish on. I didn't like the amount of downtime they had in their rigs and stuff, but just lately they've really pulled it out the bag. The last earnings was super great. The NAV premium's great. I think you're just getting a lot with Mara being at this price. Pre-market's up about 10% for CleanSpark and Mara, so that is going to impact things a little bit with my purchasing. However, if we take a look at my portfolio, CleanSpark down here, 3.5% weighting, probably going to at least 1 to 1.5x that with some of this 54% cash pile. Now, currently I'm down 35%. When it opens, it'll be down 25%, which isn't ideal because I would have preferred to buy lower, but that's still going to bring my cost basis down a heck of a lot with the money that I'm depositing. Same thing for Mara, probably 1 to 1.5x the weighting of that. Probably a little bit more in the case of Mara. Again, this one's a little bit better, minus 30%. It's going to be minus 20% when market opens. So I'm going to lower my cost basis substantially on that. And when we looked at the charts for CleanSpark earlier, I said I'd lowered my take profits. That is because I'm going to be getting a much better. I keep having a really, really weird Somerset accent every now and again when I'm recording videos. But I can afford to be a little bit safer with my take profits because my entry is going to be so good. That's really all I wanted to talk about on this one. I did get rid of my Iron position completely. The HPC business really isn't delivering. It's just an absolute drain on the business. It's only sentiment pushing that up. But again, a rising tide's going to lift all boats. So if you're in that one, it'll still do well. It's just not my cup of tea right now. Maybe that changes. I don't know. Okay, moving on to the Bitcoin chart. We had this really nice bounce from kind of this kind of previous historical level, and the volume shelf is up about 22% from that low. If you bought in there, congratulations, you're probably going to do really well. That was probably the last big pullback. I'm imagining this morning we're already going to see a lot of posts about all this hype for nothing. It's pulled back already. Probably, but I mean, we had this pop over the bull market support band, which was bearish, so that's great to see. We've back tested it already. Now, if price can hold there, that makes me super happy, super happy. But also, if price pulls down, I'm happy to buy more. So win-win. Price kind of got stuck on this historical resistance. You can see a lot of it there, and the volume shelf as well. So if we make another push, I'd like to see that volume shelf turn into support. That'd be super bullish again, to just have the strength to pop over there very quickly. Love the wick action on there. I haven't looked at the weekly chart yet, but I bet the weekly wick is looking very tasty. So resistance to the upside now then. We're going to have 100k as usual. That one's been a beast. We've just chopped around it and then had its support for a long time. Above that, the orange kind of level, I expect that would hit around 110k, which again, psychological level. That one's going to give us some jip as well. We've kind of hit our head on that one a few times. Third time's the charm though, right? And then above that, $127 measured move completion. I'm still super bullish on this cycle. I'm a bit dubious as to how high it can go now. I think the time frame's getting very small, and for it to make that size move, I wouldn't really be happy if it did that. I don't like it when things move super fast. So maybe 200 to 240 would be kind of where I put it now. But again, this is going to be very hard to predict price with all the stuff that's going on in the macro. A lot of fear has crept in the last few weeks: recession, stagflation, all that stuff. Trump's killing the economy. All that stuff can have an effect on Bitcoin. We saw that in the last cycle when rates were getting hiked super aggressively. Now, I don't see a recession coming this year. I think we've got too much leeway in the rate cuts to be able to stimulate the economy if we need to. So that's not really an issue. I'm not really concerned about inflation either. There's going to be some one-off blip from the tariffs, but that should fade. And already the trueflation data looks phenomenal. So I'm not really concerned about that. So I don't think there's anything devastatingly pressing to the macro this year. I think things are going to pick up really well towards the end of the year. But sentiment sells. The more people fear, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It drives prices down. But I would love to buy some cheaper stuff. If anyone wants to sell me some cheaper stuff, you can go right ahead and do that. Let's take a quick look at the weekly though, because we did mention it a second ago. So check it. That is a very, very nice wick. Super strong. Lots of buying going on there. It's probably one of the biggest wicks I've seen in a few years, actually, if we go back. Damn, yeah. So super bullish with that. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this content, give it a like, share with your mum, your nan, your dad, your dog, and I will see you tomorrow for Tesla Tuesday.